today we're going to finish with the reloading. Sorry it's been so long to finish this series, but we are going to finish on our reloading series, and this is probably going to be, I'm probably going to break this up because it's going to be a longer video. The first one you saw how I cleaned it, and I took my brass, I cleaned it, and I resized them, and you saw that on the first one. If you didn't see that, go back and watch the new one, or the other one I did, so you know what's going on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to reload a few here so you can know what's going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll do 10. Okay? We got 10 here that we're going to reload. What we're going to be doing now is with this brass is, and we've cleaned it out, the little, you know, the pocket, I cleaned it out also. I didn't show that, but I kind of showed you guys what to do. You just get a little primer cleaner. What we're going to do now is we're going to flare the top of this so our projectile, if you look here, try this so you can see, fits in, it doesn't fit in. So what we're doing is we're flaring this out just a little bit so this seats in here. Now, one thing I've seen on some videos, they really don't show you. They always say, oh, set it up, follow the instructions, set it up, follow the instructions, or how far to seat it down. I'll try to explain all that now. You just want this barely in. You could sit it on here and probably do it, but you're going to mar this and this. All flaring does is it starts it. That's all it does. Okay? And I will show you how I do it. Now, there's probably 100 different ways of doing it. The way the way that you can do it there. I'm going to be doing this today at the all-time, not all-time, but the lowest common denominator with no special equipment. I am going to use this primer attachment on here to prime it, but I'll show you what it's doing. You could do that by hand if you don't have one of these, so it's not a big deal. And one of the they have the powder, you know, where you can put the powder in automatically, the same amount. I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to be using the scoop and the scale to show you. Now, you're going to want to scale anyway so you can make sure it's right, but I'm just going to be using this scoop to show you how to do that so you don't have to have a lot of special equipment or anything like that, you know, to get what you want done. So I'll do that. So you can use that stuff if you want to, but basically I'm going to keep it pretty low tech so you guys can know what's going on, and then we'll probably do another video on that. The only thing you're really going to want is one of these, you know, to measure. You know, you can do it by hand, you know, with the little one, but this just makes it so much easier, and I'll show you what we'll be doing with that, and I'll show you how to zero out the scale to get it to the right grains you want. So today we're doing 9mm Luger with 115 grain, okay? You know, it's .356 in case you're wondering, and if you want to see what it is, I'm sure I'll get somebody ask me exactly. That's what it is right there, and that is right there. That's what we got there. So, okay, first thing we want to do is our dies. Here is our die we had in before that I used that deprimed it. You get 3 dies with these, okay? The next die we're going to be using is this die, the one with the hole all the way through it, okay? I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it there, how you can see the hole all the way through it. That's the one. This is the flaring die. The third one is the crimping die. Okay, this has a hole in it for a reason, okay? You can get attachments to this that automatically flow the powder in this when you're flaring and priming, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to get this all the way completely set up, and then we're going to test it to see how the flaring is, and we know this is okay for this flaring. Then I'm going to show you how to set the scale up in the powder, because I will throw the powder through here, you know, for a reason. Since I'm not using a thing, I'm using this. Putting my powder in here like this takes longer. When this is sitting in like this, just pouring this here, I got a bigger top, and I'll show you what I'm talking about later. Like I said, this is probably going to be a longer video. It's probably going to be broken down into 2 different videos. Sorry about that, but it'll just be too long, and once it's over 20 minutes, unless it's a very specific topic, I find farming topics, people really don't mind watching long, but everything else, they'll just tune out. So, okay, here's what we do. You take this in, and you screw it in. Now I backed the tighten down if you look at the last one. Okay, I'm just going to start it. We are going to take our brass that we have, okay? We are going to put it in, and we're going to raise it up all the way. Now what we want to do is lower this until it touches. Just till it touches, okay? And then what I do is, since we don't have to go down that far, I put this down so there's only a couple more turns to make my life a little easier later. So, now what we do is we lower this, and this is barely touching. I go in 1/4 turn, and I raise it all the way to go through. I take my brass, and I see if it starts. Nothing. Usually it's not, okay? So then I put it in again, and I go another 1/4 turn down, and I go through the flare. And it just barely started, but it's still not seating good. So we're going to go this. Going to go another 1/4 turn. Almost. Like we said, this is, a lot of people just say get it to the right depth. This is what I do. Now there's quicker ways you can do this, but this is the easiest to me. Okay, let's go right there. There we go. It's just about, just barely. There we go. It's just starting. So what I'm going to do is hold this and tighten this bolt down to keep it in place. Okay. And I want to show this to make sure I see this here. This sits in here. See how it just sits in there? You can see just barely, you know. It's not even in, you know, not even in there millimeter. It's barely in there. But if I put it like this, it holds just a little. You see what I mean? If it was another one, see how it just sits on top and it just falls off. Okay? If I did this and just falls, that's no good. But the one we just did just barely sits in there and it stays. So that's what you want. So this here is the right flare. And what I always do is I always do a second one after I lock this down, just to make sure. Yes, it's in there fine. So okay, so we got them in there too. We'll reseat them because we'll have to re-dye that and everything there later. So that's all there is with that. Excuse me. Now what we want to do is we're going to use this to set our primer up, okay? And yeah, 10 of them I did. Okay, when you open this up, this is the Lee priming. Just hold on to this little black lever here. Turn it a little clockwise, that unlocks it, and it just tips up. That's all there's to it. Primers, okay? When you open this up, it's kind of hard to do this. So, do you see how you can see them right there? Those are your primers. We are wanting 10, so there's 4 left on this line. You put them on this black, and if they fall the other way, don't worry about it, okay? I'll show you what to do. Now we want 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm blocking 4 because there's 10 in a row. Okay. Closing that up before I lose them. And I'm going to count to make sure I got 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. I'm actually going to take 2 out to show you what thing I'm doing later. Now, I'm going to put this down a little bit so you can see it. They're not all facing the right way, okay? But if you shake it, they will all turn where that little pocket sits up. That's all you do. And all you do is you shake it. They have little dimples in here that rotate it over. Take your lid, And I was just going to tell you, if one pops on you, you have to, which happens every now and then. I had one there. When you push down, you want to make sure they're all still, because they will not turn over anymore in here, okay? So you can't turn them over. So let's go back up here. And then what I do here now is I bring it to this gap here, and that fits about 10, 11 of them down there, so there's less than that. So I'm just shaking them so they're all down in this little chamber right here. I just shake it like this, and they go from this pocket down this tube. So let me try holding this so you can see it, what I'm doing here. Okay. This little adapter, it's kind of hard to hold and do this. Sorry if it's shaky. There it goes. Nope. Because it's hard with one hand. Okay. There we go there. We've got that all in there. You can see how that goes. And I don't think I got it in there right. No. There we go. Okay, cool. Now, that's all set up where we can flare and prime at the same time, okay? Let me put these in here so I don't lose them. Excuse me. Now, you're going to want to wear glasses for this, okay? Before I really mess with that too much, I'm going to put some glasses on, because these little primers can go pop. And if you have gunpowder here, you understand what that does. So safety first. Remember, this is to show you how. This isn't an end-all, who-all. You guys have to read and find out what's going on for you before you do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 in there. Okay, now, what we want is, if I look at I got this book here. There's a whole bunch of different loading books. Get yourself a loading book. This is a Lyman's. I did have somebody ask me once why I picked this one up. I picked this one up because it was on sale at Cabela's. It was a new book. So if you look at that and go to your round, I go to the 9mm Luger, and I go to 115 grain. Oops, sorry about bumping that. And the powder I'm using is Hodgson HS6. People ask why I use this. 2 reasons. One, I can do shotgun or pistols with this, and I could also get it. Okay, it's pretty hard to get some powder now. So, and I've used this before, and it's pretty nice. So I'm using HS6. So I look at my book, and HS6, the minimum grains I want to use is 5.7, but I don't want to go above 7.2. Now I'm going to go 6.0. I'm going to do 6.0 grains. Okay, so here I'm going to resituate this so you can kind of see. It's going to be kind of hard. I'm going to try to, hopefully you guys can see this. Here's the scale. This just comes off, okay? You got a ball here for tens. You know, 0, 10, 20. So if you have it on 0 and 5 down here, that's 5. You've got on 20 and 5 here, that's 25. You guys get that. Okay? This just sits on here. Bring it back down to 0. And you put your end on, okay? You can see it's this arrow here, okay? Let me do this back here. This arrow here, you want to line up with this arrow here. You can see that it's off. So, but right now, it is set here at 6.0 grains. So, there's a little button here to lock it. You put it on the back side, that unlocks it. Now, I want to zero it to 0 to make sure this is 0. So the bottom arrow you put on 0, and there's little ticks at the top. You'll always have a big line tick and 2 small ticks on each side of the big. So I want the 0 here, pointed at the 0, and I want the big line on the 0 and a little tick on the 1 and the 9 on that side. But if I wanted 4, the big would be on the 4 and the small would be on the 3 and the 5 on the 2 other sides of the number. So I get that ready. Right there, it's right where I want it. So then I push that in there, and that locks it in place. Now, What that does is you can zero the scale. Now we want this to equal 0, and we can change it with this little dial right here. Now I just hit that to slow it down, and we'll let it go. And I'm going to get in the way of the camera for a second here to look. We are just over, just a little over. So you take this wheel here, and I'm turning it back so it goes that way to get less weight off that side. And I'll get this from shaking less. Oops, I keep shaking it. that's what I was up. If you can see that, we are right on. We are at 0 right now. So now we know this is set, it's zeroed. So now we want to counteract the weight we wanted the 6.0 grains. So take that off, because now we know this wheel is set at the right place to make it 0. So just reversely, I'm going to push this in, or from the back to release it. Okay. I'm going to bring this number down here to 6, and I want these top ones here at the 0. Lock that in, put this back to the 0, and you can see it right there. That let me see if you can see this here. That's at 6, and there's a big line on the 0, a little on the 1, and a little on the 9. If you can see that, that's what's going on. And the ball is on the 0. Okay. Put the scale back in. Put this on. You can see once we start putting weight, this will be powder here on here. You can see it weights that down. And you want to put enough powder in to get it right at the 0. Okay? And I'm going to show you, we'll do one here. Here's the powder. Okay, just little granules. Now, I've done this before where I pretty much know 1 scoop, full scoop, is just barely over 6. So if I put this on, I put almost all of it on. And then I'm waiting for that to dampen. Get that out of your way. And you can see we are right on. And I just have a little bit left in. I put that back in here. Now, in this little cup here, we have 6 grains of HS6. Okay? So what I like to double check is with that on there, I take it off and I put it back on, just to verify there was nothing caught or nothing in there. So we're still on, we're there. We know there's 6 grains in here. Now you can do those automatic things that do it automatically. We're not going to deal with that. Like I said, we're doing this the lowest, so you don't need any special equipment. Okay, so now what you do is, I'm going to do this one at a distance, then I will get it up close so you can see. We're going to put this on. We're going to raise it up. That flares it. Okay? Then I'm going to take this over in this primer thing, put it over, tap it on. I got a primer here, and I'll do a close-up so you can see it. And to make it easier on me, I'm going to take my powder, put it right through this because it's a lot easier here. Down, it's in the bullet now. Now I raise it, and what that does is this seats the primer. I take it out, I cover it, I just check the bottom to make sure the bottom here is flush or below, and this one is loaded. Let me put one of these to set this in. That's all there's to it. That is it. So we're going to do a few more here. Maybe this will just be a one video, I don't know. I'm going to get 6 here. We're going to go to 6 grains again. if you had one of those perfect powder things, you'd get it set once and then you could just do a lot. But this isn't that bad. A little bit more. And if you go over, you just take some out. Got a little wind here today. And I'm just barely over. So I'm going to put just a... I'm glad I went over so I could show you that it does happen. A little wind outside here today. I'm outside because it's so nice. And that's moving the scale a little more than I like. And we're on. We're right there. So, take this off. Now we'll move this so you guys can see what's going on here. And there we go. Okay. We got one here. We're going to put on. We're going to raise it up, and that flares it. Okay? Now, you take this. There's this little thing that comes out right here. It comes out. Push this up all the way. Push this button and down. Okay? And that seats it right in there. And as you can see, when I lower it, this raises this up underneath the round, the brass. And if you keep pushing all the way, it seats it in. I'll hold this bottom here. Underneath. So now we got one right there seated. So, there we go. So, the only difference is when it's up, okay, and what I do is after you seat this, you put your powder in the top, then I go down and seat it, okay? I just wanted to show you what was going on. Now I got powder in there, okay? Don't worry, we'll do another one. Put it in here. I'm going to get 6 grains again. Just like you guys saw that a couple times. I shouldn't hopefully have to show you how to do the grain again. And once you do this a couple times, you'll get pretty quick at the grain too, even if you don't do it. See, there it's perfect on. 6 grain in here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it up and flare it. Put it in. Now, you want to lower that to seat the primer before you pour the powder on so it doesn't fall in the hole. Because remember, the primer blocks the bottom hole. Just pour it in, raise it, and this one's done. That's all there's to it. You can see it's not hard or anything. It just takes just a little bit of time. But to me, this is very relaxing and fun. To be honest, I would much rather be doing this than watching TV and all the garbage that's on there. Most of it's not even entertaining. There's a few good shows on. A little bit more. There we go. And I'll show you one more just like this. Then I'm going to show you the other. What you can do is, okay, put that up, flare it. While it's up, put a primer on, seat the primer, bring it back up, and send the powder through. That's all there's to it. Now, you can do this here, flare it, primer it here, put it in your tray, and then fill them all with this later. I just fill it through this gap here. Now, I was going to show you what else you could do if you didn't want to use this. Okay, just grab that out of the way so you can see better. Grab one of these primers. Okay, you put this in here. Oh, let me get some powder ready. There we go. 6 grains. Okay, you can go up, you can flare it, and this here, what that primer did, it set it in this little hole here. You can put the primer in manually if you want right there with the whole side up. Bring it down and seat it. Like I said, now you could take this out and set it aside and just fill them all later. But I have this in here now. It just helps me pour. Put it up. Put it through. Bring it down. I got it flared, primed, and powder. That's the 5 here. I don't have to show you the other 5. That's all there's to it. I'm going to load the other 5 and then get back with you guys to show you the next step.